Welcome. Once more, we invite you to listen to the gospel used at today's Mass and to reflect and see what God might be saying to us. A reading from St. Matthew's Gospel. The kingdom of heaven will be comparable to 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, 5 were prudent. For when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them. But the prudent took oil flasks along with their lamp. Now while the bridegroom was delaying, they all got drowsy and began to sleep. But at midnight there was a shout, "Behold, the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Then those virgins rose and trimmed their lamps. The foolish said to the prudent, "Give us some of your oil for our lamps. They're going out." But the prudent answered, "No, there will not be enough for us and you too. Go instead to the dealers and buy some for yourselves." And while they were going away to make the purchase, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. The other virgins came along, saying, "Lord, Lord, open up for us." But he answered, "Truly I say to you, I do not know you. Be on the alert then, for you do not know the day nor the hour." The Gospel of the Lord. This whole parable that Jesus talks about is from a different culture. It doesn't necessarily resonate with us as well. But the lesson does, as in all these parables. He's talking about preparedness. He's talking about responsibility. He's talking about being aware and alert to what's going on, but not just around, but within ourselves as well. The 5 virgins and the 5 that were foolish, all good people. Others seem to be, flighty. They're supposed to have these oil lamps, I guess, and they have no oil, but they don't bother buying it. And they're delayed, and the lamps burn and finally run out of oil. And at midnight, they turn to the 5 wise who have some oil left, and they say, "Give us some of yours." I forgot. At least that's the phrase I find myself using. I forgot. I didn't mean it. I was surprised. It's not fair. We go back to that phrase again. The measure that God is using in this story seems rather arbitrary. Either you're prepared and you're welcome, or if you're not prepared, you're shut out. But I think with all of these moments, it's not God's judgment. It's what we do to ourselves in the bigger picture. That if I am not responsible, if I'm not thinking ahead, if I don't ask for help, if I don't listen to people who have gone on before me, then I'm doomed to make the same mistakes over and over again. It's not that I make mistakes, it's that I make them over and over again. None of us can measure time. We only have the day. We live like we're going to live forever. And we look down the road for the next 5, 10, 20 years, whatever. I know in my case I have more to look back on than I do to look forward to. It's part of it. But I live like I have 30 years left until I stop and reflect, until I learn something, that I become more prudent, And that something, I think, is that I only have the moment, that each of it is gift. Life is a gift. People in my life whom I love and who love me, they're gifts. My health is gift. Time is gift. Being loved and able to love others, all gift. There's a lot I can earn, a lot I can gather for myself, but one needs to be conscious of the moment. It's all I have. I can make plans about the future. I can do all sorts of things. But the point is, am I living the moment? Because if I'm constantly either looking to the future and dreaming dreams, or if I'm always looking at the past and wishing I had done things differently, then I'm missing the moment. I'm missing what life is about, to try to live, taking what I've learned from the past, even the mistakes, looking forward with joy to the future, but living the moment as fully as I can, hopefully a little bit better each day because of the past, sometimes past mistakes. It's extraordinary, I think, in my own life. I don't remember the victories, if there are any, but I can remember the failures and the mistakes, the embarrassments, wishing I had done things differently. It's hard to let go. Of course, I can't undo any of it. The only thing I begin to learn, I think, if I try to live the moment, is how much my life is gift, and that what I have I should use, but it's in God's hands. If I mess it up, I turn to Him and say, please, make it better. I'll try to do better. And my faith tells me that He forgives, that I'm absolved, as we say. How often I find in hearing confessions that situation of people not letting go. We just don't live in the moment. I go out of my mind because I'm a patient person. When someone comes in and says, I'd like to confess sins of my past life, or perhaps they say, and these are many people, not one, I'm not sure 20 years ago whether I confessed this terrible sin, or all sorts of things like that. And sometimes, if I think they have a sense of humor, I say, is it that you haven't been forgiven by God? Or that in some way God has Alzheimer's, that God forgot? And they kind of laugh then. I've got to get that forgiveness. I got to be sure. And Jesus says, I forgave you before you even did anything, because I love you. You were created in love. If you can remember that today, you'll be a wise person and not a foolish person. Will you make mistakes? Sure. Will you commit sin? Probably. But you'll be much quicker to turn and seek forgiveness from the Lord. But even more importantly, you'll be much more open to accepting it. You'll be much humbler because you know it's not up to you, that you're not being measured by progress, that you're being loved because you were created by God, and that God sees Himself when He looks at you. Do you? Do I? Do I see God in the midst of my mistakes and errors and imprudence, my failures, my sins, all of those things that seem to be focused or I'm focused on? I don't think of the successes so much. Maybe because I don't have any. I don't know. But what God is talking about, I think, in this gospel, the difference between the foolish and the wise, is those who don't live in the moment, who are living in the past, or who are living in the future, hoping on realistic dreams and missing the moment of the gifts that God has given us. The gift of myself, who can love like no one else can, imperfectly perhaps, or the gift of others with whom I'm coming into contact today, who may be difficult or a challenge, but they also are God-bearers. Do I think today at all of the God who is always with me and loving me? Then I become wise. Then I become prudent, because I don't depend upon me. I don't make excuses. I don't allow myself to fall into lazy practices. I continue to renew with the Spirit of God's presence and love. So we hope that you continue now to pray for one another in these days, that your family and friends remain safe, and that we all remember that God is in our midst each day.